Marcus Junius Brutus was one of the main conspirators in the assassination of Caesar in 44 BC. He was the son of Servilia, who was a half-sister to Cato and likely Caesar's lover. There was a rumor in antiquity that Brutus was actually Caesar's son. After Caesar was appointed dictator for life, Brutus decided to kill him in the name of the Roman Republic. Brutus' life was indeed a tragedy. He tried in vain to fight for the preservation of the good Roman Republic but was defeated by Marcus Antonius and Octavian, the later Augustus and Rome's first true emperor, in the Battle of Philippi. After the defeat, Brutus committed suicide, as the Republic had fallen. Brutus was forced to acknowledge that the murder of the dictator Julius Caesar had not prevented the fall of the Republic, as he had hoped. Brutus fought for the ethically correct, the continuation of the Republic, and democracy, but as Kierkegaard writes, Brutus does not enter into a private relationship with the divine but finds himself within the ethical, and the ethical becomes the divine, and therefore Brutus allows the paradox to mediate within the general spectrum. Another important difference for Kierkegaard between the tragic hero, such as Brutus, and a knight of faith like Abraham. Brutus could lament his fate publicly, and if he did so, he could speak about his intentions. Brutus rationally defends his actions ethically through his speech, explaining that he killed Caesar because he was a tyrant and dictator. Brutus also assumes his fate, only Brutus can kill a tyrant. It was also an ancestor of Brutus who killed Rome's last legendary king, Tarquinius Superbus. All of this can be rationally and ethically defended. Kierkegaard writes, "The true tragic hero sacrifices himself and all his for the common good. His deed, every movement in him belongs to the common. He is apparent, and in this appearance, the beloved son of ethics." This does not apply to Abraham. He does nothing for the common good and he is hidden. Abraham was the one who received the command from God to sacrifice his son Isaac on Mount Moriah. The Greek hero Agamemnon had to sacrifice his daughter for the sake of a higher cause, that is, his own daughter. Agamemnon overcomes the pain by breaking his ethical relationship with his daughter, but he is still within the ethical because the act stands in relation to the idea of morality. However, Abraham stands as the individual in an absolute relationship to something higher, outside the ethical, and therefore his action cannot be justified in relation to the ethical. Abraham exists within his singularity and is the individual in an absolute relationship with the absolute. Ethics is not divine for Abraham, but God commanded Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, but he cannot speak of it, he cannot ethically, rationally explain or defend his actions to others, and cannot seek help from his tears and mourn this. Abraham is silent, he cannot speak. Abraham's faith cannot be harmoniously accommodated or reduced and abolished to any form. We only have a conceivable realm of reason and concepts, which lies behind Abraham, otherwise, he could think through the unreasonable in his actions due to the sacrifice of his son Isaac, but he takes faith with him and faith does not exist within the same spectrum as knowledge and understanding. Faith lies within the paradoxical and absurd spectrum. The story of Abraham, where he sacrifices Isaac, is problematic and paradoxical. This paradox makes the act of wanting to kill Isaac a sacred sacrifice. Kierkegaard wrote, "Faith begins where thinking stops." Kierkegaard distinguishes between the ethical aspect and the religious aspect in the whole matter of sacrificing Isaac. The problem is that in general, it is considered unethical to kill another person, and it does not get better if it is your own child you want to kill. The whole thing seems absurd and cannot be considered an ethical act to kill one's own child. Abraham finds himself in a paradox where his action of sacrificing Isaac requires him to use his faith and make a move of faith, as his reason cannot defend his action. However, he must still believe that it is the right thing to do, if he is to carry out the sacrifice of Isaac as ordered by God. The whole situation appears incommensurable with reality. Abraham must therefore believe in the absurd. Both in the Bible and in Kierkegaard, Abraham loves his son very deeply and does not want to lose him. So, when God orders the sacrifice of Isaac, Abraham must believe in the absurd that he is doing what God wanted. It should also be noted that at the moment when Abraham raises the knife to kill Isaac, God stops him and Isaac survives. So, despite the outcome, the situation remains absurd because at the moment of the raised knife, ready to kill Isaac, it lies outside the realm of ethics since Abraham did not know for sure that God would cancel the sacrifice of Isaac and instead, a lamb was offered. But what is so admirable about Abraham's suspension of this general ethics? Why isn't Abraham a cold-blooded murderer? It all comes down to faith since faith lies beyond what can be thought, and Abraham is a knight of faith. Faith is not easy, it is the hardest of all, writes Kierkegaard, and not everyone can do what Abraham does, as he is the true knight of faith. Abraham and God are both silent and hidden. Abraham is silent to others, including his wife Sarah and son Isaac, about his motivations and doesn't reveal what he intends to do. He cannot explain himself because the situation is beyond explanation. This is a temptation for Abraham according to Kierkegaard. He is in a situation where he is an emigrant from the common ethical norms. Abraham, who loves his son, must set aside his love on Mount Moriah and is hidden from Isaac his motivations, but he cannot explain or speak about it, so he remains silent. Abraham's relationship with the ethical norm is complicated because Isaac is his son, and according to the ethical norm, a father should love his son more than himself. This is what makes the situation absurd, that Abraham believes that the individual can be higher than the norm. Still, it is also absurd that Abraham gets Isaac back because God stops him at the moment of the sacrifice. The knight of faith doesn't need admiration or tears, as he believes through the absurd and through his love for God. However, God is also hidden and silent about his motives and reasons according to Kierkegaard. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing.